Hey guys, welcome back to Intermediate Confidently Crocheting. So today is day 6, and today what we're going to talk about is when you're weaving in different types of yarn. So yesterday we used what I refer to this as regular just because it's what I'm most familiar with. Everybody's going to have their own regular, right? This is what I'm most familiar with. This is size 4 worsted weight yarn, and I showed you that yesterday on this project. And yesterday we practiced, we went over just weaving in ends and what to do if you have short ends. But today we're going to cover these other types of yarn. So this is crocheting thread, obviously a whole lot smaller. Okay, so we'll weave in this end today. Then we have what we call bulky yarns. Both of these are size 6 bulky yarn. This one is just like the size 4 and that you can see the fibers and they're twisted together. All right. But this is called a blanket yarn, and it's still size 6 and it's still bulky, but we don't have those individual fibers twisted together. You have something kind of like in the center. Oops, I'm not on camera. In the center with it like fraying out of it. I don't know. Fraying's probably not the right word. Anyway, I love this yarn. Very soft, fun to work with. So how do we finish off to make sure our projects look good? All right, let's actually start with this blanket yarn. So right here, I've made a reusable water balloon. Here's the ending tail. So what you're going to do first is you're actually going to weave in this tail with the crochet hook. You can use the same size you did to make it. I prefer to use a smaller size for just this part, just kind of makes things easier, a smaller size hook. So what you're going to do is you want to start by making this lie the knot lie as close to the project as possible. Okay. And that's the same thing with any other type of yarn. Because what you want to do is you don't want there to be a big bump or a knot there. All right, so weave this in, a couple of stitches. I honestly prefer to just go all the way around with this one. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that I prefer to do. I don't have a specific reason. Okay. But all right, here we go. We're getting to close enough, right? Now what you want to do is you do want to see which way stitches are lying, because what we want to do is kind of tuck this in and make it invisible. So all the body of the stitches are laying down this way, and we're going to work on the outside of this just because this is so tight in there, it's hard to work back and forth. If we could work on the inside of the project, obviously that's better. But all right, here we're going to lay this down. So the whole thing here is you're going to tack this down with regular sewing thread. So I've already got that on just a hand sewing needle. It's already double knotted at the bottom. So you're going to start to the side of this. And when you put your needle in, if you don't feel resistance, you're not in a stitch, you're just out here in this fluffiness. So you've got to wait till you feel some resistance. And you're going to just go straight across. Yes, you can definitely feel, okay? When you go straight across, now notice I'm not like actually in this end yet, but that's fine because what we're going to do is a whip stitch. So you kind of pull that in there to get that tail disappearing. Whip stitch means you come back over and you start from the exact same side. Now, if you had yarn thread that matched your yarn color, that's much better. But generally, this will still get kind of hidden because you pull it tight. So it goes in there. If I need to trim that later, I will. But I would recommend, again, going pat or whip stitch at least 3 times. I mean, you don't need to go crazy because then you're actually going to create a bulky feeling there. I mean, there is already a little bit of one, okay? But when you pull that tight, what you're going to do then is you're going to come back in here and you're going to knot it. To knot it, again, you're going to have to feel some resistance, and I'm just not finding it. There. I guess I'm doing one more whip stitch. All right, now let's see if I can try it. There. So we'll just get this knotted. A double knot should be just fine. Good, there's the resistance. And then here again, you're going to trim this as close to the work as possible. Over here on the other side, where we do have that end sticking out, we'll just go ahead and get that trimmed up. Without cutting the knot. And then, yep, last part, go ahead, trim your yarn. And that is how you weave in ends with this blanket yarn. So when we go to the other bulky size 6 yarn, but this one, it has its own fibers. I just have a little swatch here to show you. What you're going to do here is a little bit different. You're going to split these fibers. The reason why you're going to do that is because it's bulky, right? And if we start weaving this in, we'll get bulges that we really don't want. So now that I have 2 ends, you're going to go back to your yarn needle, your sharp yarn needle, put your yarn on there. And then you're going to practice the same thing we did with the size 4 yarn, okay? You're going to feed it into and through stitches into those fibers. Again, at least 3 stitches wide. When I pull tight, it brings that finished knot kind of down. This is the same thing where I'm going to try to stagger it and not come right back, go right back in where I came out. I'm going to, catch a few different strands over here and then go through my same 3 stitches. And that's why those things are awesome. All right, ta-da. You pull it to where you can kind of get things in there. Again, you don't want things puckered. And your third time, right back through them again. And trim it as close to your work as you can. You still have just a little bit of a tail. When you pull it like that, it kind of tucks it back in. Okay, but of course you still need to do weaving on this other part. So again, same process. Get your yarn needle. The difference is though, you don't want to go through the same spot that you did with the first one, or you will get with that, we defeated the whole purpose of separating these strands. So you can come down here, right in there. I'm a little bit lower. Okay, and you're going to just do the same process. Now, what happens if you don't have any place that's solid, 3 solid stitches and whatnot to weave back and forth in? At that point, instead of weaving through 3 stitches side by side, you might weave through stitches vertically, okay? So that you can still weave in your ends and make things sufficiently working, okay? So that's what you're going to do with this size 6 bulky yarn. Okay. Now there are obviously so many more types of yarn. We're not going to cover everything. We're going to end today on this crocheting thread. Now this one, it's got fibers. They're all twisted together too. So we are going to start with that yarn needle and going through fibers, but it's not going to work the exact same. Right here, I'm going to feed it back through the body of these stitches. And you want to make sure that you're taking your time so that you don't ruin your work that you just did by, making something kind of open up and make a hole where you didn't want a hole. Okay, so There's that. You're going to feed back again. Now I'm actually going to kind of like stagger this and go a little bit. You see that? I'm going to come one stitch off to the side and start catching that loop. Well, maybe. And feed back through. No, I'm not, I guess. There we go. You're definitely going to want to use, yeah, but it got the thread through, so that's what we needed there. And in this case, you really want to pay attention to how things are happening. You don't want this to get bunched up. It's going to dramatically show in this kind of work. So just take note of that, which means I'm actually going to come down below it this next time. So like I said, let's just go a little bit lower right there. And we'll feed it through just like that. Okay, now what makes this actually a whole lot more different is we're going to block this. And I demonstrated blocking, taught that in the basic course. So that's something that if you don't have experience with, drop it in the comments and maybe we can work something out on those live Q&As, because I mean, it'd be simple enough. But I'm going to literally wait until this is being blocked, and I will then cut the thread up against this work and put, after it's been blocked and it's out to dry, I will then put a thin coating of a craft glue over that edge. It'll dry clear, it won't be seen, but right now I want to know exactly where this edge is, and so that's why I'm leaving it for now. Alrighty guys, so that covers today, weaving in, finishing up with different types of yarn. I will see you tomorrow where we're going to talk about switching out your colors. See you then.